we're going to start this off. But before you guys jumped in, I said the great thing about tonight is at Steiner Sports, we do a lot of people together, but they weren't always on the same team, like Buckner Wilson or Branka Thompson. So somebody did something great and someone did something not so great. That brings them together to sign. You guys were on the same team, so.
We probably have better stories. Yeah. Well, we can't tell them, but we probably have better.
Definitely better stories. One of the things, just doing some research before today, is all those Super Bowls, Joe, you never threw an interception.
Not that I didn't try. I had a couple drops. It takes a little luck to have all that happen. But you try not to. I mean, that's the name of the game, but it doesn't always work out that way.
Getting back to, if you look at the products over there and drawing out the play, was that play a design play? I mean, it's obviously, what could you tell us, just how did that actually, Dwight, you want to take that one?
Dwight's the workhorse. He's the one that does all the work.
Yeah, when we draw these plays, Joe just gets to sign his name, and I got to draw all that other stuff on there.
Yeah.
If you saw my drawing compared to his drawing, you'd want his. His is much better than mine.
Yeah, that was, I get asked that all the time, was Joe throwing it away? And obviously, the truth is, I mean, Bill's coaching point was, throw it high enough where Dwight can jump up and catch it, or it goes out of bounds, but don't throw an interception. And I mean, we practiced it, and in practice, Joe would never get it right. He'd throw it 10 feet over my head, or like hit me right in the chest. But in the game that sends you to the Super Bowl with 3 guys in his face, he puts it in the exact spot that it has to be. Because Everson Walls was closer than this. And in my conversations with Everson, he said he saw the ball coming and he relaxed. And then when he felt me going up for it, he said, "Oh, children here." But yeah, that was a planned play as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it was something that we ended up using a lot more after that. Before, he's really tries to set a screen on Freddie Solomon's guy who's on the inside of Dwight. Well, sorry, screens are illegal, so he tries to get in the way of the defender, and he comes off him like a basketball pick and you throw. We scored on it earlier in the game, but Freddie fell down. So he did always such a good job of screening the guy that we never really threw the ball to Dwight until then. And then all of a sudden that sparked something in Bill to make us not only use it on the goal line, but we used it out in short yardage, which was even more effective of a play, and things that he never even thought about until he makes, obviously, a great catch in the back of the end zone. But
Just awesome.
yeah,
Today
I'll tell you a great story. We had an old equipment manager that had been there forever named Chico Norton, and he never came out. He was like a groundhog. He never came out of the locker room. And I have no idea what the hell he was doing out of the locker room, but he was on the field. And we came to the sideline, and the first thing he said, "Boy, your buddy saved your butt that time." I said, "What are you talking about, Chico?" He goes, "Man, he jumped out of the stadium." I go, "He's white, Chico. He can't jump." But he did. He made it. Because I didn't see it. I got knocked down, and when I let it go, I thought it was just a little bit above arm's length above his head, and I figured he would catch it. So I figured when I heard the crowd, everything was good. And little did I know till I saw it later that what a great catch it was.
Now that you're admitting that, would you get off the campaign of trying to change the catch to the throw?
I'll work on it. I'll work on it.
All right. Give me one catch, all right? I mean,
in the era you both played in, the rules were so much different, especially with covering receivers. And how many catches would you have now?
Oh, he'd have a lot. Yeah, because one of the things that he was probably one of the most physical receivers, and he had a real crazy ability to find a hole somewhere, and it didn't matter how far down the field it was, and you didn't think he can get behind you, but he could. But he probably got the most physical of all the coverages because they were afraid to miss somebody like Jerry, but they would physically beat him, get him on the line. but they didn't realize that he did have quickness and speed. So today's letting guys like him off free access off the line. Come on, how many guys? There's guys that are throwing the guys that are 5'8" who get free access and they find little holes. He would have made it.
So
He'd have
you'd
made a
be-
lot more money these days. I'll tell you that.
You would have been like a grunt.
Oh yeah,
Damn.
yeah.
Yeah, the money's changed a little bit, right? The money's
Well, I mean,
changed a little bit.
if you look at what they would have done with him, with his size, they would have moved him into part of the tight end, because we really, early in our career, didn't have a tight end that had that kind of ability. And with his size, his ability to, and the mismatches that you get would have been with him and a linebacker, or the nickel defensive back would have been, I don't even want to think about how much money he could have made. And he,
I made a ton of money. I made $30,000 my first year. That was a lot more than they paid me at Clemson. Maybe not as much as you made at Notre Dame.
Wow, it's going to be what
yeah, that's why we beat you. We got paid more.
Well, we beat you guys a month ago, so
Oh,
How
boy.
was it? Did you play that?
no.
In
All
your
right.
prime,
We're not competitive, don't worry.
in your prime, are you taking him in basketball?
Him?
Yeah.
Hell no. He's
No?
too physical for me.
Wow.
Yeah, and he, when I said he can't jump, he's white. He can stand still and dunk two-handed underneath the basket.
Oh,
So he
no.
is-
This is the basketball player right here, because we'd finish practice, or in the off season, we'd go over to this little gym that was close to where we practiced, and we were shooting. And the first time we went in there, you know, he's talking junk and says he can dunk it backwards with two hands. I was like, there's no way your little ass can jump up there and dunk it backwards. And so we bet, and he gets in the corner and comes out from under the basket and slams it with two backwards.
Wow.
I know. That's what I said as I paid him the money.
Wow. Playing for Bill Walsh. What's just in a small way of each of you? What was that kind of like?
Well, I didn't know it, but I was kind of Bill Walsh's guy. When he came to Clemson when I was a senior to work out Steve Fuller. He was a new head coach at the 49ers and was looking for a quarterback, and came to work out Steve Fuller. And when he called our apartment, Steve and I were rooming together. When he called our apartment, I was walking out the door with my golf clubs. I'm going to play golf, and the phone's ringing, and it's one of those moments where you're like, do I really want to answer this? I know it's going to be somebody that's going to make me do something. And I thought, you know, well, it's almost the draft. I better answer it. It might be. So it was. He said, "Hi, you know, this is Bill Walsh. I'm here to work out Steve Fuller." I was like, "Yeah, okay. Hold on a minute. I'll get him." And he said, "You know, I'm the head coach of the 49ers." I was like, "I know, Coach. I don't know who you are." And he says, "Well, who is this?" And I told him, and he said, "Look, didn't you play wide receiver?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." He said, "Well, could you come over and run the routes for the workout so I don't have to catch the ball, and then I can evaluate Steve better?" And I was like, "Sure, I'd be happy to." So we go over there, and Steve has a tough day. He's throwing them high and behind, and I, you know, kind of typically like Joe does all the time. And I was lucky enough to catch everything, you know, and so I ended up getting drafted by the 49ers and became kind of, you know, Bill's guy. I thought every day I was going to get cut. And Joe and I were rooming together, and he would
Never
act.
unpacked his bag.
He acted like he was going to get cut too. You know, like sure.
Was that a weekday? Did he work out in the middle of the week? Or was it a weekend? You remember?
I don't. It had to be weekday though.
So I thought, you had your golf clubs? Do you have class?
I walked right into that one. It was a weekend. It was a weekend.
So Joe, you went from Arrow Parsegan at first, and then Dan Devine, and then to Bill. Is that just some amazing football minds?
You know, I think in the beginning you didn't really realize what you had until you start getting into watching him design plays and talk about the plays. And in our quarterback meetings, the little things that he talked about, and the one thing he wanted was accuracy, and he didn't care really about how hard you could throw the ball, how far you can throw the ball, but you just had to be accurate. And the one thing because he said, when these guys are running across the field, he goes, I want the ball 12 inches in front of the number and not 24 where you're stretching him out where he thinks he's going to get his head taken off, or behind him where you slow him down. But he demanded like the little things, and he demanded really perfection, not only of the quarterback, but of the team. And he would just tell you, look, everybody was always worried about how long practice was going to be. And we would go by play numbers, not time. And he said, well, we have 110 plays today in practice. We could be here for 2.5 hours. We could be here for an hour and 45 minutes, up to you. If you do it right, we're in and we're out of here. But we're going to do it, and we're going to stay here until we get it right. And that all translated over into a different work ethic than everybody was used to seeing, and then into how well you played on the field. And he was a very special. He had a great, funny sense of humor. He just did things that I mean, there's one of the pictures. I don't know if there's one in here, but he could sense about players. And there's one with I'm on down on my knee. I think it's the champion right before it may have been right before the catch. And I came to the sideline, and I was just exhausted, and I got down on my knee. And I said, wait, I'll be up there. Give me a second, coach. And he goes, no, just stay there. And he came down to me and just started talking about what we were going to do. You know, and I don't know, most coaches wouldn't do that. I mean, just the little types of things. And he had a funny sense of humor all the way till he died, the day he died. Ronnie Lott and I were the two of the last players to see him at his house. And Ronnie had said goodbye and left. And then after that was only going to be his family. And as I said goodbye to him, I start to walk out of the room, and he says, hey. And I go, yeah, coach, you need something? No. You owe me any money? I said, no, but if you need something, I can get you something, coach. I mean, that was just, I mean, he'll tell you, there were so many things he would do just to make you laugh just at the right time, when there was a certain amount of tension. And the time when the Super Bowl in '84, right, when he's laying forever before we come back out, and he's laying on the floor on a bag, just talking about, oh, that Marino, no one's ever seen a quarterback like that. Who can stop Dan Marino? Because the locker room was dead silent.
There's a picture of that.
Yeah.
He's got his hands behind his head, just laying back, right before the Super Bowl is getting ready to kick off. You loved him like maybe a dad or an older brother or something, and you never wanted to let him down because he did so much for you, and he was funny. Yeah. I went and saw him in the hospital when he was like 2 weeks before he died, and he was getting a blood transfusion. And so we sat there for like 4 hours telling stories back and forth. So I said, Coach, on Saturday nights, that little cup that you were carrying, we all knew that was a margarita. He's like, you did? I was like, yeah, we know a lot of stuff that you were doing. And he said, well, what are you doing after we leave here? And I said, nothing. He says, well, can you give me a ride home? And I was like, sure. So he lived in Woodside, so we're going through Woodside, California, and he said, why don't we stop right in here? And it was a little bar. So we pull in there, and he says, I need one more margarita.
That's great stuff. So today we have social media and Twitter and so many things that you didn't have when you played in that era. So the question is, last year you have Odell's catch against the Cowboys, and everyone's like, the greatest catch in NFL history, outside of the fact that they've been playing for, however many decades. Now you have another catch around against the Redskins. Now that's the greatest catch people have seen. Do you think a lot of that, like during the time you were playing, was Jerry Rice making catches like that? They just weren't memorialized. It was Jack Snow.
I don't think you saw Jerry make a catch like that. He he'll make something, but there wasn't a catch like that. Or there are certain things that Jerry's a phenomenal receiver, but never saw him do something like that.
Okay.
But those other guys, I mean, those are all great catches, and it's just like anything. You try to rate, everybody tries to rate things. And I always just say, you know what, I enjoy the game for what it is, because it's changing. It'll always be changing. And when it happened, I mean, I'm sure there were catches that other people had made during the year that also everybody said it was a great catch that you don't see. But, man, just have fun, man. We have fun with this so much. And but the thing about it is, how much do you hear about those other catches as much more than you hear about his catch more than anybody's. So I think it also is about when they happen with meaning. And that was a huge meaning for the 49ers, his catch. Put us in the first Super Bowl, got us past the Cowboys for the first time in their history. And
Huge catch.
yeah, oh, yeah.
Huge catch.
Yeah, well, especially because there was a lot of talking going on during the game, because we'd already beaten them once earlier in the year. And
Did you keep a loose huddle? Like, was your huddle like, I know we had the John Candy thing, which is, well,
it wasn't loose as much as it was respectful. And people, I always tried to be myself, so if something funny happened, I'm going to laugh. Or I'm going to make fun of somebody. Like the time we had a left tackle, goofy as they come.
Singleton?
Yeah, and I won't mention names out loud, but
Oh.
he just, only when you hear the story, you'll know why I won't mention it. We're out there, and it's, there's really nowhere to go to the bathroom, right? What are you going to do? We got the ball. I hear this noise, and I'm going, I look over, and he's going to the bathroom. And I look and I go, Ron, are you okay? And he goes, yeah, but what do you want me to do? And he starts mumbling, what do you want, I just can't just run off the field. I go, yeah, but I am kneeling down here. You could have at least warned me, so I could have gone on the other side. The huddle was pretty, it was more informational in the majority of the time, and it was a workspace, really. I mean, because a lot of communication happens between quarterbacks and wide receivers, because as much as they say you can see the whole field, you can't always see the whole field. And it helps to get feedback every time they come back to the huddle, especially if it was a pass. Or if he saw a defense, or Jerry, hey, the next time you see that, I can do this. And it makes a big...
Jerry's feedback every time he came back to the huddle was, I'm open. Jerry, what you got going on over there? I'm open.
I can go to the post anytime.
How big was John Taylor's catch in the back of the end zone?
Well, I mean, there's nothing better than to win a Super Bowl throwing a touchdown or catching a touchdown. And so, yeah, that was huge, especially because Sam White was our first, my first quarterback coach at the 49ers. So he has been a longtime friend of all of ours, another funny guy. And so there's nothing better than beating your close friend at anything, right? And that's the way it was. We saw it with Sam, is that, yeah, he was very, very competitive, but we got the best of him in the end.
Okay, we're going to take a few questions from the audience. How are we on time, Brooks? Okay, great. So, right here.
Just a quick question about the catch, Joe. There's an urban myth that you and Ed Too Tall Jones had an exchange after the play, and I was wondering what exactly was said. Is that you could
Well, Too Tall was never really says much about anything, which was unusual. So this was totally unusual. But in the week, they were talking a lot in the paper about how they had no respect for us, even though we had beaten them earlier in the year. And he knocked me down after the throw, and he said something about how we had just beat America's team. And I said, well, that's great, because you can sit at home with the rest of America and watch us in the Super Bowl.
All right, that'll work. Question? Right here, sir.
I'd like your perspective on the rule change protecting the players. It's a good thing. Do you think they're going a little bit too far, or changing the game too much?
I thought they were going too far at the beginning, because a lot of what people love about football is the violence and the big hits and all. But I think it's still a violent game, and guys there's great athletes out there, and some of the calls they make are just, bad. I mean, referees are just horrendous. And
Tell us how you really feel.
I've been killing the referees for 20 years, and finally somebody starts talking about how bad they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that I think it's going to be okay. I think the guys will figure out how to tackle the quarterback, the prima donnas, keep them healthy.
I say let them hit the quarterback. No, honestly, I think they protect the wrong side of that hit.
Yeah.
It's not the hit. The quarterback can take a hit. It's not, we're the only person standing still 90% of the time. We get hit, and we're getting hit by guys that outweigh you by 100 pounds. And it's not the hit that you can't survive. Yeah, it'll sting for a little bit, but you'll get back up. It's when, after they hit you, and you can watch, and you'll see they get one step to push on you, and now you're off balance, and then they compress you in the ground. And that's where the quarterbacks lose the battle, is on the ground with the weight. It's not, I mean, look at Romo. One guy falls on your shoulder, out pops his shoulder again. But it's that part of the hit if you could stop. Hit me as hard as you want, I'll be fine. But don't compress me in the ground after that. When I was playing, I was 189 pounds to 190 pounds most of the time I played. And guys that are hitting me are 300 pounds. So there's nothing I can do when I hit the ground. The Leonard Marshall hit, I would have been fine with the hit. But what happened was we hit the ground, did he compress me into the ground and knocked all the wind and air out of me, but separated 2 ribs. But at the same time, he had a hold of my hand. And when we hit the ground, as he compresses on me, he rips back on my hand and he spiral fractures my hand. So it's not the hit. Yeah, occasionally there'll be, hitting the quarterback down low, they try to stop. That part of it, I understand. But hit the quarterback. He can take the hit. Just don't compress him. And I'm fine with it. So should they. That's how they grew up. Well,
Question right there?
I'll follow up on that question. It was a great question. But, the whole thing with the unprotected receiver, don't you wish they had that one when you played?
Oh, hell yeah.
That's what I said.
What was the worst thing you had? You have 2 guys coming at really high speed and just great athletic ability hitting each other.
Well, I got hit a few times, but here's the thing about Bill Walsh and the West Coast offense and Joe Montana. How about finding the open guy instead of throwing you into like a big hit? If Joe ever had to throw you into a big hit, once you got your helmet back together, Joe'd be the first guy down there to say, "Sorry, man, you're all I had. It was 3rd and 5. I had to go to you." He was an expert at finding where the open guys were, and that's what Bill wanted. So the guys didn't get hit and the ball come flying out.
Well, that's what one of the things that we talked about a lot in our meeting was, if you're going to have to throw, like the interception in the end zone of the last Super Bowl, it never happened against us because that ball's going down in the dirt. You're going to go down and get it, and I'm going to protect the throw, going to protect the pass, or I'm going to throw it somewhere else. And they knew it. And I said, well, we're down there in the goal line, and I'm throwing you a slant, or you're down in there, I'm throwing it down in the ground, and you're going to go get it. And you protect them, we protect the ball at the same time, so you didn't see a lot of that. And like you said, on occasion, there were times we needed it, not early in the game, but you're late in the game, and you're going, okay, that's all I got, and I got to get it there. And I may even been a little pressure early, but most of the time, I tried to pride myself in protecting them as much as with the ball and with the throw as I could possibly do. Yeah, sometimes I couldn't do it, and he was right. I'd be the first one there because, and then you would have guys that we had so many great things in our offense with guys that would read, and he was one of the best at it. That's why I said today it would be impossible to stop, because in our offense, you never knew where the route was going. It was up to them to determine where they're going to stop. And guys would run across a zone defense, and which is totally against rule number 1. Any zone, find a hole and sit down. And guys would run across, and guys would throw them the ball, and I'm sitting there going, they just take monster hits. And I'm going, you'll never see that on our team, because our guys know that if you keep running, you made your decision at zone, I'm not going to throw you the ball. because I'm not going to take a chance to get, although I did try to kill Nehemiah.
Well, guys,
That was his fault.
thank you so much for tonight, for the candid dialogue and all the great football memories and all the things that you've done up here at Steiner. And let's give them all a big hand.